I have one message from your person, and it's urgent, or Carl Jung psychology. Take a slow, deep breath before you keep reading, because what I am about to share with you is not light or simple. It did not arrive without a great deal of effort and real difficulty. This message had to travel through long stretches of silence and considerable emotional distance, carrying a hidden, heavy pain that stayed locked away for a long time before it could finally reach this exact moment. What this message holds feels more important now than it ever did before. Stay fully present with these words, because they touch something that runs very deep inside you. There is a specific person in your life who has been holding something locked away in their heart for far longer than they would ever admit to you or to anyone else. This has been going on for much longer than you probably suspected. They did not simply wake up one morning and decide their feelings had gone cold. They did not truly move on the way their outward behavior seemed to suggest to the people around them. What actually happened was quieter and far more gradual than any of that surface-level behavior let on. If you feel this urgent message is meant for you, tap like right now so this energy can reach more hearts. They pushed their real feelings down because they simply did not know what else to do with such intense emotion at the time. They covered it over carefully and kept it hidden from view. They told themselves silence would be the easier, simpler path. But feelings that get buried do not just vanish or fade away. They stay there in the dark, growing heavier with every passing week. They wait quietly. And then one day, all of that built-up weight rises to the surface at once, without warning. That is exactly where this message is coming from right now. It does not come from a place of courage, inner peace, or steady confidence. It comes from a place of fear, panic, and that painful moment when a person realizes they may have let far too much time slip by without acting. Something shifted inside them recently, in a way that is hard to ignore. Maybe they came across something that reminded them strongly of you or of your history together. Maybe they heard your name somewhere unexpected. Maybe life finally grew quiet enough around them that the real truth became louder than the distractions they used to drown it out with before. Whatever triggered it, the experience shook them out of the safe place where they had been hiding for so long. One clear thought landed on them with full weight, undeniable and heavy. They realized they might lose you in a way that cannot be fixed or repaired later. This thought did not arrive gently. It did not show up during a busy afternoon where it could be brushed aside easily. It arrived late at night, when everything felt heavy and still. It came in those moments when their phone sat empty and silent beside them. The company of other people started to feel hollow and forced, instead of real and grounding. When the noise of daily life finally fell quiet, that stillness began asking questions they could no longer avoid. There was nowhere left to hide from the truth. That was the moment they could no longer look away from what they had been ignoring. No one else carries the warmth and depth that you carry in your heart. No one else listens the patient, attentive way you always listen to them. No one else understood them without needing every detail explained. No one else offered comfort without making them feel controlled or held too tightly. The moment that truth became clear to them, urgency began building strongly inside. But notice this part closely, because it truly matters. This urgency is not made purely of selfless love. It is also built from a deep, gnawing fear of losing something they only now realize was incredibly valuable, something that cannot be recovered or replaced once it is truly gone. If they could speak to you right now without pride standing in the way, and without excuses building thick walls between their real self and their true words, they would say something plain and honest. They would admit they should have done far more, and done it far sooner. They believed they had more time than they actually had. They thought your care and patience would simply remain in place, no matter how long their silence stretched on. They did not fully understand that silence has real power to wound someone over time. They are only now seeing clearly that doing nothing is still a choice, one that carries its own consequences. That choice carried a heavy cost to the closeness that once existed between you both. They carry guilt for not being present when their presence was exactly what the moment needed. They carry guilt for staying quiet when honest, open words were what things truly required. They carry guilt for not finding the courage to be vulnerable when honesty was the only thing that could have made a real difference. Back then, putting distance between themselves and the situation felt safer and easier to manage. Silence felt more comfortable than facing things directly. Avoiding the truth felt like a form of control, but avoidance never actually protects anyone from the pain it eventually brings. It only delays the damage and lets it gather even more force later. Type the word urgent in the comments if you feel this message is meant for you. This person does not struggle with their feelings because they feel too little. They struggle because they feel far more than they know how to hold or manage well. Opening up honestly to you would have meant accepting real risk and real uncertainty. It meant they could be turned away or rejected. It meant they might lose their emotional footing entirely. It meant facing parts of themselves they were not yet ready to look at. Closely, someone once said that until the hidden patterns you carry in the dark are brought into the light, they will keep quietly running your life from the shadows, and you will simply call it fate or bad luck. That is exactly what happened between you. Instead of following what their heart was telling them, they let fear make every important decision. They let pride do most of the talking instead of their real emotions. They let silence speak even louder than pride ever could. Now those old choices have grown into consequences they can no longer ignore or look past. There is another layer to this that sits even heavier on their mind and heart. They can sense you are no longer the same person you were before, at least not in their eyes. Something in your energy has clearly shifted and changed direction. The way you respond now feels different from before. Even your quiet presence carries a new quality that was not there earlier. You may still hold some feelings for them, but you are no longer chasing answers or clarity. You are no longer repeating yourself, hoping something will finally change. You are no longer standing in that painful, uncertain place where nothing felt clear and everything hurt so deeply. That change unsettles them in ways they did not expect. It unsettles them because they leaned on your patience far more than was truly fair. They leaned on your gentleness and softness while keeping their own heart carefully guarded and closed off. Somewhere deep down they simply assumed you would always be there, waiting and understanding. They never really considered that you would reach a point where you quietly chose to put yourself first. But you did reach that point, and they can feel the difference now. That quiet internal shift you made speaks louder to them than any heated argument ever could have. Keep listening closely, because this is where the truth grows sharper and clearer. What they fear losing is not only you as a person in their life. They fear losing the rare feeling of being truly seen without harsh judgment for what is seen. They fear losing the emotional safety they never fully admitted they were leaning on so heavily. They fear losing that rare space where they could feel understood without being pushed past their limits too quickly. Only now are they beginning to understand that not every bond can be rebuilt once it has been allowed to break. Not every connection can simply be found again in someone new who comes along later. That understanding follows them everywhere they go these days. It surfaces during quiet moments, when they have nothing left to keep it buried under. It rises up when they try to move forward, but cannot seem to find solid emotional ground beneath them. It returns every time they compare someone else to you, and immediately feel the clear difference in a way they cannot easily reason away or ignore. This is why the sense of urgency inside them keeps growing stronger and pressing harder each day. It has nothing to do with trying to control you or the situation again. It is about realizing that time is no longer something they have in great abundance. They can feel a door slowly moving toward closing, not with loud drama or anger attached to it, and not with some final harsh declaration either. It is just the quiet, inevitable shifting of time that makes them realize the chance to bridge the gap is fading. They are looking at the space between you, and for the first time they are truly seeing it for what it is. It is a space created by their own choices, their own fears, and their own reluctance to be real. Now that they see it, they are terrified of the distance. They are terrified that the bridge they once took for granted has been worn away by the water flowing beneath it. They wonder if they will ever find the right words to cross it. They wonder if you would even want them to cross it at this point, or if you have found a life they are no longer part of. This is the weight they carry. This is the truth they cannot escape. They are realizing that your grace was never an endless resource, and that realization is changing them from the inside out. They are having to learn what it means to miss someone who was always there. And they are learning it the hardest way possible. They have to sit with the silence they once thought was safe, and now it is the very thing making them realize how much they need to speak. If they do find the courage to say something, it will not carry the same pride or hesitation that shaped their past behavior. It will come with a raw, stripped-down honesty that admits everything they were once too scared to acknowledge. They have finally reached the end of their own excuses, and they are left with nothing but the truth of how much you mean to them. They know now that if they don't find a way to express this, they will have to live with the regret of what could have been. That is the weight of their new reality, and it is a weight that keeps pulling their thoughts back to you constantly. Even when they try to focus on other things, the thought of your absence follows them like a shadow. They are starting to understand that true connection is a fragile thing, and once it has been damaged by neglect or fear, it takes more than passing interest to repair it. It takes total commitment to honesty, something they are only just now learning how to practice. You deserve to know that this is where their mind currently sits, in a place of reflection, a place of regret, and a place where the desire to make things right is finally outweighing the desire to stay hidden in the shadows. They may not have acted on it yet, but the shift has already happened, and it is the most significant change in their outlook in a very long time. Keep being true to yourself and the peace you have built, because that is exactly what has awakened them to the reality of what they lost. They are now facing the consequences of their own actions, and they are doing so with a clarity they never had before. They finally see you clearly, and in doing so, they finally see themselves too. That is the beginning of everything. This is happening in a quiet, gradual way in the background. That kind of soft closing is actually the most serious kind, because when a door closes gently within someone's heart, it rarely opens easily again. Drop a heart in the comments if you have someone in your life who has been hiding their true feelings from you for a long time. They want to reach out to you right now. They want to find a meaningful way to explain themselves fully. They want to offer an apology that carries genuine weight instead of sounding defensive or empty. But fear keeps stopping every attempt before it can even begin. Fear asks them if it is already too late for any of this to matter. Fear whispers that maybe you no longer care the way you once did before everything between you changed. Fear tells them that if they finally show their true self, they might face rejection that cuts deep. So they hesitate and hold their words back carefully. They spend time composing messages in their mind only to erase them completely before ever hitting send. They play out entire complicated conversations inside their head that never actually happen in the real world. They walk through every possible outcome they can imagine, and yet they still stay exactly where they were before. While they keep delaying, the pressure building inside them keeps growing without any chance for release or relief. This is not a promise that everything between you will reach a happy resolution soon. It is not a comfortable story, nor any kind of guarantee for the future. It is something closer to an honest confession offered from a distance across both time and space. They are not claiming that all the harm has already been repaired. Type yes in the comments if you want to know what your person is really struggling with in this exact moment. They are not pretending they have suddenly found every answer they were missing before. What they are finally admitting, even if only within their own private thoughts, is that treating you as though you would always be there waiting was truly wrong of them. They did not understand your real value until they felt the emptiness that opened up in the space where you used to be. When truth arrives this late, it carries extra pain with it because it arrives alongside the sinking feeling of having lost hold of something that mattered deeply. But what this means for you matters more than what it means for them right now. Please listen carefully to this next part. This is not a message encouraging you to stand still and wait around patiently. It is not asking you to offer forgiveness before you feel truly ready. It is not pushing you back into the same pain you already lived through once. It is only making visible the truth they failed to show through their earlier behavior and choices. You mattered to them far more than they ever found a way to express openly. Your absence in their life feels louder now than your presence ever seemed when you were fully there with them. What existed between you was genuine, even though it was handled very poorly by them at the time. The real power in this situation belongs entirely to whatever choice you decide to make next. Genuine power does not rush forward simply because someone else has been caught by a sudden wave of panic. The presence of strong desperation does not always mean someone is truly ready for real change. A person can feel desperate emotions and still not be in a place where they can love someone with the steady, reliable care that is truly needed. Right now, this person is sitting with the honest results of who they chose to be when it really counted. Results have a way of being very honest things that cut through everything else. They strip away the comfortable stories we like to tell ourselves to feel better. They remove the excuses we often lean on too heavily. They show, without any sentimentality, exactly what silence ended up costing everyone involved. They're going back through old moments now, things they once thought were too small to matter at all. They look at those moments now through the clear lens of loss, instead of the comfort of their old pride. They remember the small, steady things you did so naturally. They remember how you checked on them without needing any special reason to do so. They remember how you could read their mood even before a single word was spoken. They remember how you held yourself together even when they suddenly pulled away. They remember how you always moved toward understanding rather than quick blame or anger. These memories press on them now because they reveal something genuinely painful to sit with for a long time. You met them at a depth they had not yet reached inside themselves at that time. They pulled away from the real emotional growth and responsibility that comes with a meaningful bond between two people. For a long time they lived as if distance were a safe shelter, but now that same distance feels more like uncomfortable exposure than protection. They feel seen by you, even through the current silence that exists between you. Your silence has changed in its quality and its depth. Where it once felt like a short, temporary pause, it now feels like real, permanent distance growing wider. Where it once seemed like a passing phase, it now feels like something that could continue without any clear end in sight. That difference presses against them in a way they can no longer ignore. They can sense that you are no longer building your emotional world around their confusion or their mixed signals. You are no longer waiting for them to catch up to where you have already been standing strong. This stirs an even deeper fear inside them. Not just the fear that you might say no if they decide to reach out, but also the fear that they may no longer hold the same important place in your life. They worry that you may have quietly closed the chapter without any drama or final heated confrontation. That kind of calm from someone who used to be consistently available feels frightening to a person who depended on that availability without ever properly earning it. They are also reaching another important understanding right now. You never asked them to be completely without flaws or without mistakes.